let's talk about AI. This is our Approachable AI series, and today's topic is AI's impact on business model innovation. My name is Mikko Peltola. I'm one of your hosts today, and I have here Petri Salonen with me. We'll do a brief introduction of the companies, and then we'll dive into the content. Hope to have you, everybody, looking into our presentation. Let's get going. So we have delivered now, this is the 9th Approachable AI presentation. We do this in collaboration between ACX and TELUS. ACX covers the design and engineering part, TELUS the envisioning part, and together we can provide a holistic offering in this space. So Petri, why don't you walk us through the TELUS offering and TELUS story first?
Thanks, Mikko. Nice to be here again. So TELUS has really been, I think this is now the 18th year, and we've been delivering workshops for ISVs, SIs of different sizes, and specifically for Microsoft Global ISVs for the past 15 years. And this really covers the entire spectrum of taking the envisioning, road mapping, workshopping till go-to-market strategy. So we have never covered really the engineering side of things. So I'm super happy that now with the combination of ACX and TELUS, we're going to be able to cover the entire life cycle with our clients.
Excellent. Thanks, Petri. And I can tell you a story. So we just spent last 2.5 days with Petri in a premium partner event. It was a gathering of 270 people live here in Dallas. And on the last presentation on stage, Neeti Gupta from VMware was talking about partnering and marketing, and she unprompted raised Petri's work as an example. Petri's workshops, how they helped VMware move forward in the partnering space. So that was quite eye-opening for me, that to have a partner or customer raise Petri's work unprompted in front of hundreds of industry professionals. So well done, Petri, there.
Thanks, and really happy to be part of the team now as well. So we'll do great things together.
Excellent, yeah. So then a couple of words about the ACX. So we are based in North America and Europe. You saw our leadership in the previous slide, and Petri has really joined us on the cloud space as our cloud ecosystem lead. The ACX part of the deliverable, on top of Petri's envision part of work, really focuses on the design and engineering. We can cover the research insights, UX design, visual design, then secure backend, DevOps, and the front-end development. And in terms of focus, we tend to focus on the more challenging, futuristic digitalization projects that include, for example, artificial intelligence, as we are talking today. Good.
Great. Let's jump into it. So
yes,
this is really a topic that I'm really passionate about. And Mikko and I agreed a little bit more than a month ago that why don't we look at what is the impact of AI in business modeling. I have delivered hundreds of business modeling workshops for organizations of different sizes, as I just mentioned. So what I did, a little bit of due to my academic background, I went and acquired every single article that I could find in the academic community about business models and the AI, that combination. And it was kind of interesting to go dig back into what I have learned from the past, and also aligning that into the experience that I've had when delivering these workshops. This is not an academic exercise, this webinar, but I do ground my findings in very solid frameworks that could really impact your planning as well. So I am excited about that. So I'll start about talking a little bit about who this will impact, and then what is really the impact on business models. And I'm going to be using the industry standard business model canvas framework as an example. Then we'll step into a framework that kind of explains what it is that you have to be considering when taking the steps into the AI. Mikko and I have been running this webinar series, and I'm also tying back into some of the findings that we've had before. So I would really encourage you to go back and review those sessions in YouTube. So let's look at the AI and what is the impact on organizations. But the first thing that I would like to do is to really define what is really a business model, because that's also something that the academics have been pondering for a long, long time. So I decided to use the source you can see here, Massa, Tutsi, and Afua. And the first thing that we feel that a business model should have is it summarizes the logic within which an organization achieves its goals. Every single business modeling workshop that I've been running is always tied to a goal. What is it that we're trying to achieve with this new business model or with our organization? So it's always a goal set. The second thing that it should be reflective on is that it summarizes how the business perceives the relationships among different functions. Let's take an example of an ISV. I started working on business model transformation when Azure went into incubation. I think it was back in 2009. So kind of think about it. That's a long time ago. So every organization that had a on-premise solution had to figure out how is this going to impact the department, the function within the organization. So it's really about those relationships and the dynamics between those functions. And then business models, it's really a simplified description of how an organization functions. So just showing, for example, business model canvas framework, you should be able to figure out what the business model is. By the way, all these pictures have been generated by DALL-E, so it was kind of interesting to see what you can get out of OpenAI Plus version. Now, I wanted to spend a few minutes really reflecting on the past that I've seen when I have been helping the organizations moving into the cloud environment. I think there's a lot of commonalities now looking at the AI. The biggest difference, though, is that the AI is changing much more dramatically organizations. I just read the latest research from McKinsey, and AI technology, think about this, it could add nearly 4.4 trillion to the global economy each year. And just if you compare that to United Kingdom's entire GDP, which was 3.1 trillion in 2021, that's huge. And if you go back into our previous webinars, Mikko talked about what is the impact into different types of organizations or operations. So it's really customer operations, marketing and sales, software engineering and R&D that will be impacted. And this study identified 64 use cases in which the technology can address specific business challenges to really get more measurable results. So the impact is within different industries. And based on this study, it's really banking, high tech, and life sciences that are assumed to get the biggest impact as a percentage of their revenues. So AI, it really is a catalyst for innovation. And what it also means that C-suites have to be proactive about this. And Mikko and I mean, it was eye-opening in the conference we spent the last 2 days. Even us who do this for a living, we were like, whoa, I mean, it's really accelerating. And this week, Microsoft Ignite is going on. So if you want to check out the latest keynote from Satya Nadella as of yesterday, it was mind-blowing what I learned, even based on that keynote. The other thing that is going to happen is that AI will enable much more customized solutions, which is also impacting organizations and ISV specifically. You can build solutions that can scale and really break away from the one-size-fits-all types of solutions and really catering to the unique needs of the customers. A big thing, which is also something that organizations should really think about, is the data. Data can be a competitive advantage for organizations, because data with AI can really transform the organization into something that it becomes more competitive and is going to be able to compete against diverse competitors. And maybe finally saying that AI and business models, it's also a new foundation for revenue streams, because it provides new ways to monetize your solution. And a good example of this is dynamic pricing. So that kind of gives you an idea. It's really important to not be part of the mainstream, as was typically the way you are thinking about technology, because if you wait too long, you might lose your market position. I've seen this even within the Microsoft ecosystem, working with global ISVs for several years. So my message really is that you should really learn from others and not do the same mistakes. And the other thing that Mikko has emphasized multiple times in the previous webinars, that every organization is a little bit different. We all have our own DNA. We all have our own backgrounds, our own core competence and tools and models. And we really need to adjust our plans according to those. Otherwise, our plans might be too big and grandiose, and it will doesn't lead to anything. So that's important to also consider. Great. So let's look quickly. What's the impact on different types of organizations? My life has mainly been in the ISV space, and I think it's a huge opportunity now for organizations, specifically net new startups, building and trying to take over from larger vendors, because the implementations, the AI implementations, and the opportunities to build solutions that didn't exist before are just huge. It could also be that these organizations have a better way to expand their marketplace. And for us, there's a huge opportunity for legacy modernization, because a lot of organizations are still even in the on-premise environment. So modernizing those legacy applications using modern AI technology is a huge opportunity. And of course, ISVs expect to get new revenue streams. Service providers, it's also a big opportunity. I've had the luxury to be chairman of the board for a service provider. And I remember a lot of the things that we did in the past were too labor intensive. So automation of services is going to be big in that space. There's going to be new types of service providers, whether it's in content creation, customer support, design, because you can automate things using generative AI. Customization on scale. Not sure if you remember the era of mass customization. In my own academic studies, I had to read a book from Pine et al. That talked about mass customization and what that meant for organizations. But here, customization at scale and AI is really the one that will give that opportunity. Cost reduction, of course, for service providers, and then the creation of new products and service offerings. Technology providers, like I mentioned, Ignite is now going on. And if you think about the Copilot technology that Microsoft is applying to so many different things, they are redoing some existing platforms. They are creating additional solutions. And it was kind of interesting to see what Microsoft is now doing. So, for example, if you have Office 365 and you apply Copilot, there's going to be a $30 per user per month additional cost on it. And now I saw yesterday that there's going to be SharePoint Premium, and SharePoint Premium is not going to be the same as what you get from Office 365 E3 or E5. There's going to be additional. So there's going to be there are new monetization opportunities for Microsoft as well. And then, of course, end user organizations. Many of them will not survive if they don't change their business model. So I think it's important to also reflect on how is this going to be changing my business model and how quickly do I have to do it? So those are the main kind of categories of organizations and the impact of AI on them. Now, I'm sure you've seen a lot of topics around this, and the left side, the old world is something that it's not going to work anymore. If you listen to Gartner and see some of their research, you can't do things in a way that you did before, where you build weight to make sure to kind of seek the certainty on things and optimize based on today's knowledge. It's just not going to work. So if you want to really thrive in the new economy, you do need to put some strategic investments. Not all of them will be successful. And what you have to do, and this is nothing new in the software world either, or in the startup world, so learn and fail fast to win big. So you need to be thinking more of a portfolio perspective than before. So there's going to be a huge change culture. And I've been running multiple workshops, aligning product teams, and trying to get them to be changing their way that they look at things. So it's a key thing that every one of us had to do. I'm a very big believer in research, and one organization that you should check out is the Technology Services Industry Association, TSIA, and they describe something that is called fish model. And the fish model really explains in a very interesting way when an organization moves from old business models into new business models. So if you have a business model where the revenues are going down, you have to invest, whereby the cost will go up. And eventually, when you get the new business model going, so you hopefully get the cost going down and the revenues going up. So it kind of paints out the picture. So the only question that you have to have, how long is that fish model? So every single ISV, independent software vendor, has gone through the fish model. They can't avoid it. Now,
so Petri, like
yeah,
on the previous slide, you showed all the areas where there's like opportunity with AI,
yeah,
and then the scale picture kind of lead me to thinking like the flip side of the coin is that there is no safe haven. AI, there is no place where you can go and hide the way you would be safe of the impact of the AI. Really, you really need to jump on board. That's what you're saying.
Exactly, and
Okay.
And that's the thing that has seriously been the biggest surprise even to me. I mean, you and I have been working on this for months and months and looking at research, but it seems to be that the acceleration is even more quick than we expected. If you look at the keynote from OpenAI last or 2 weeks ago, that kind of explains to you what's going on. And I think we should have a webinar about this, by the way, where we would talk about, what did we learn throughout this last 12 months.
Oh yeah, that might be a good idea. Good topic for next. Yeah.
So
because there's so much. The challenge is going to be how can we keep it in 45 minutes or hour or something. Right?
Exactly,
Okay.
that's true.
Go.
Now the question is, how are organizations looking at the development? And one of the most known or most used, at least in the Microsoft ecosystem and within Microsoft, is the McKinsey framework. You talk about horizons, and the horizons really provides the executive management a way to look at what are we going to be doing in horizon 1, 2, and 3. And horizon 1 typically is that it's focused on activities that are mostly closely aligned with the current business. And there's an expectation that there's almost an immediate revenue recognition of the efforts. Horizon 2 is taking what you already have and then extending that into new areas. Let me give an example. I've done a lot of workshops where an on-premise solution need to be modernized. So instead of trying to modernize the entire thing, is to create net new solutions tied to the legacy solution, for example, by using cloud technology or AI technology. So extending. And Horizon 3 is where you have completely new elements. You kind of have a vision that this is where the company is going. These are the things that we want to be making. These statements statements, by the way, apply not just for independent software vendors, solution providers, but also to end-use organizations. So whenever you do these planning, you have to kind of plan in horizons. I think it's a good way. And we, ACX and TELUS, we have a framework to help to navigate these horizons and what are the things that you have to be looking at when you do it. Now, I'm sure that you are already tired of these slides, but I just wanted to bring this. This is a brand new Gartner as well. So they went into 408 CEOs and asked, what's the most significant impact on their industry over the next 3 years? Guess what? AI was number one. But when you really look at these categories, automation, data analytics, and cloud computing, in my mind, is the same thing, or kind of belongs to the same category, because you can't really do AI without cloud computing. You can't do AI without data analytics, and automation and AI is the same category. So it's a huge thing and a huge opportunity for organizations to really make a difference. And that's where we want to be part of with ACX. Let's look at the impact on business models. So that's really the core thing. And I'm referring this into an article, very new article, that Gen AI is out of the bottle, generative artificial intelligence from a business model innovation perspective. So if you look at this, this study have 3 categories of things that they studied. The category of value creation innovation, the category of new proposition innovation, and the category of value capturing innovation. And if you look at the new capability, the creation innovation, so new capabilities, and a good example is all the Copilot automated code generation environments. So, and the other one is the GitHub Copilot. So to give an idea, 88% of the developers felt that they're more productive by using GitHub Copilot. That's huge. So you're really moving into new technologies and equipment. So there's a huge shift from traditional computing into large-scale deep learning models. And in the keynote yesterday from Satya Nadella, there was also NVIDIA's CEO talked about what's happening on the hardware side. So I really encourage you to check it out as well. There's going to be new processes that needs to be in place because the old-fashioned ways of doing things will not apply anymore. And there's going to be new ways. The traditional roles of software development is going to go away. So software organizations, and this is something that also already stated before, that software development organizations are going to change because of this. Now, what does it mean to have new proposition innovation? There's going to be new offerings. There's going to be, for example, integration of AI tools for code generation, testing, and there's going to be solutions that people that don't really have a huge technical background, look at Power Automate, look at Power Platform. They're really no-code type of environments that will extend to coding environments as well. So it's also going to change a little bit the kind of the worker environments, or not, that's probably the wrong word, but the types of people that will be working on these solutions. There might be more like product managers defining the what needs to be developed and less on how it's going to be developed. Then you have the value capture innovation. It's going to enable you to have new revenue models, revenue streams, as well as new ways to reduce costs. So those were the 3 categories. I really encourage you to read this article. It's pretty interesting and gives you an idea how the AI will change different types of organizations. Now, the question that you will have, and this study was from 2021, an organization or this researchers went and looked at thousands of organizations. They created some attributes with which they would select top 100 organizations that they felt that would fit well into this study. And what happened was that they wanted to categorize what kind of AI solution providers existed in this 100 group of organizations. And kind of interesting to see, and maybe some of you will be able to, specifically if you're in solution development or in the products business, maybe you can identify yourself in one of these categories. So the first pattern is product service providers. So they provide standardized products and services that really don't require any further customization. And what was also interesting in these organizations that they don't cover the entire workflow. They are kind of spot solutions. They offer a solution for one specific task within that industry. And the researchers give an example of, for example, detecting forbidden items at the airports from Synapse Technologies. And these solutions are mainly sold to business customers. So that's kind of the products business, which Mikko and I have been in almost of entire careers. Then you have the AI development facilitators. So those are the organizations that provide APIs, application programming interfaces, or software development kits that can be used for AI development. It could be no-code workbenches where business people with little IT know-how can develop new AI solutions. For example, chatbots, that's a good example. And in these cases, the NLP, natural language processing, is often the dominant AI technology. So think of this category like chatbots and tools that enables you to build these kind of solutions. And I believe this category is going to grow based on the work, for example, what Microsoft is doing. The third category are the data analytics providers. And their focus is on doing integration and analysis of vast amounts of data. And that could be internal and external data sources. And providing really comprehensive data analysis to support well-informed decision-making. A good example could be continuously monitoring operations in manufacturing, for example, or identifying hidden patterns or making predictions for the future. So also in this category, it's typically it's the conventional machine learning approaches that are applied. And then finally, those are the real true AI people that try to look for innovative niche solutions and really use AI technology to identify and change the world. It could be robotics, autonomous driving, medical drug discovery. I've been, by the way, doing workshops for each one of these categories, and it's kind of fascinating to see what's happening in these organizations. That's a very cost-intensive kind of pattern because it requires a lot of investment to do these types of solutions. So that kind of gives you a broad categorization of types of vendors that work within the AI field and what kind of things that they are focused on. So remember now, they went through hundreds of organizations and then they picked 100 of them based on specific characteristics. Now, everybody always asks me why are frameworks important, and this has been the key for successful deliveries in the workshops. And it's simply a codified way to organize thinking and assess a problem, provides structure and promotes discipline. And specific methods and tools are often linked to the overarching framework. I always say that it doesn't really matter what framework you use as long as you're consistent. And if you think about it, let's say that you have 10 different product lines. Every single product team will have different frameworks. You're going to be you will never be able to compare the results from each one of these product teams. So I think it's really important to base anything that you do on frameworks. That's what I learned in my own research. Now I'm going to be moving into the standardized, the most known standardized business model framework. And what I'm doing here is really to not describe a specific business model. What I'm going to do is to describe the things that you need to be thinking about in each one of these 9 building blocks. So when you start building and innovating your business model, you will be able to go to this picture and say, yes, what I will need to do is to look at this building block, and these are the things that specifically apply to AI. So I want to emphasize this because every single business model is going to be different in different organizations. So these are just the pure characteristics that you have to be looking at. And now the question is, I'm building both of these. I always get the question, is the value proposition coming first or is it the customer segment? Sometimes it's the customer segment that you start from. Sometimes you identify a value prop and then you try to figure out the customer segment. But if you look at the customer segmentation, the biggest impact, which I feel is going to change, is look at, for example, generative AI. It's going to probably shift the target audience to some extent because you can address things that you couldn't address before. So it could really, truly open new markets for you, more advanced, unfeasible solutions. And because of the fact that you have AI available for you, it could also mean that you can be more specific in your customer segmentation because you get so much more insights from your AI algorithms. You also get much better understanding of your customers because it's an ongoing feedback loop, a learning process where you can then address additional new feature sets, additional things into that segment. So it's almost like having a dynamic segmentation because you refine it on regular basis. And of course, the big thing that you can customize your solutions much easier than you did before. So you don't have these product releases every year or a year and a half. You can have new things appearing for example, on a monthly basis. Now, when you look at the value prop itself, and that's of course always going to be dependent on the organization itself. One thing that we at ACX are really, really proud of is the user experience. The new types of solutions, that's where the ACX by the comes from. User experiences are going to be so important in these new types of organizations. The new generation of users will expect so much more. And AI is also going to be driving this. And you can have more innovative solutions, unique solutions. And think about all these traditional organizations that have a solution for a specific vertical. Now you can have a smaller startup coming with use of AI, kind of starting to eat up these established vendors slice by slice. And I've seen that happening as well. The software can be more adaptive, responsive to user needs, and of course, this could be new business models that you can build. Now, the next building block in a business model canvas is the customer relationships. How are you going to access that customer segment? And of course, in this one, it's going to be automated interactions. The use of AI. You can do things, whether it's a bot or automated assistants. So that's going to change in a big way. What I usually do in workshops, I'm going to ask the workshop attendees, what are the functions within the organizations that I have to be considering when looking at the value prop and approaching that market segment? What are the things that it's going to impact? And here again, customization will be the key. Not every single customer has to be treated in the same way. So we are leveraging AI to provide more tailored experiences. And it's also this, what I said before, it's continuous learning. Relationships, they might shift from one off kind of things into a more ongoing, changing, really something that the customer appreciates. How about channels? Channel is typically, in the old traditional way, this building block was regarded as a indirect sales channel. So if I'm an ISV, what are the indirect channels like MSPs, resellers? What are the types of organizations that will resell my solution? But in the today's world, the channels could be different. It could be well, for example, Azure Marketplace, that's a distribution channel, or any type of digital platform that allows you to distribute your solution or your product, your IP. And here again, it could be, for example, that an organization provides APIs, integrations into something else. So you kind of build this holistic ecosystem itself. Revenue streams. Of course, subscription model is nothing new, but what is pretty new is the dynamic pricing, not within the airline industry or hotel industry, but we feel that the pricing itself will be changing quite a bit. And it's also going to be a challenge for a lot of organizations because we're talking about consumption. We have been running software pricing packaging workshop for years. And I know it's a challenge how to estimate the consumption side of things. And that's where ACX really comes to play. TELUS has never really wanted to kind of consider anything that has to do with the consumption side of things because it's all about architecture and how the architectural model is laid out. I've focused on the value-based pricing. What are the things, the value that we get from the solution? And then the architects will have to figure out the cost models themselves. So TELUS doesn't do the cost modeling. And now joining these services, we can kind of cover both sides. So how about key partnerships? What are the changes there? Of course, you might not have the skill set, the providers for the AI technology. So Microsoft is a good example, AWS, Google. My specific focus has been on the Microsoft ecosystem for the past 18 years. It's fantastic how much things are coming automatically from these vendors. The other thing that will change are the data providers, because you really have to figure out where you're getting that data, and there might be some external data sources that you will want to embed into your business model. You will have to really put efforts into ethics and compliance and any type of regulatory body. So that's a big thing within, specifically in the generative AI, that you don't produce stuff that is ethically wrong or even is based on hallucination. Key activities, it's going to change your way you do things. You're going to have to learn new skill sets like AI model training or development. It's not going to be a one-time thing. You have to have continuous improvement on those data models or customizations. You have to have strong skill set in data management side of things. And that's something that organizations don't understand, or some don't understand, where data in, data out. If you have bad data going in, will have bad data going out. And then ethics and compliance monitoring is probably something that organizations haven't had before. And that's really reflective on the key resources that you need, whether it's AI expertise. Infrastructure costs that's a big thing now in the new world of things. And if you want to acquire some proprietary data sets that will become part of your key resourcing, that's also a thing. And they're really reflective. The key resources, the key activities then reflect on the cost structure. So these are the 9 building blocks that really constitute the business model. And we have additional frameworks that help to really build. We use value proposition canvas framework, and we're probably going to have a workshop or a webinar about that as well. So this is the core thing that you have to have in place. This should really explain to an organization, these 9 building blocks, what it is that you want to be doing. And I want to emphasize, this is not describing any specific business model. I just wanted to address the things that you should be thinking about when building your business model using AI.
This is really like good visual presentation of like how AI touches every aspect of the business frame. So it's like when we say that nobody's safe, there is opportunity everywhere. You literally could point out examples on every box.
Exactly, and yeah.
Another thing that I started thinking, of course, like being like customer experience focused, is like the chat interface. So just as one example, so currently when there's like an application, there's graphical user interface. How do we know how user friendly it is? People go and they try to find out the information, get the action they want. And if they're not happy, they may provide feedback, or you may set up like a focus group and observe them. But now when it's like chat interface, we have like real-time feed, what people are after, how they refine their searches. And going even further, like there used to be a clear distinction between creation and consumption, and now the consumer becomes part of the creation team. So I create the view that I want myself with your tools. So yeah, wow, thanks. That was eye-opening.
Yeah, it's and that's why, you know, when we were planning this webinar, I said, you know, how am I going to be able to kind of explain how the changes will impact the business model? So it's kind of interesting finding for myself as well. And maybe to complete this section is to say something where both ACX and Telus from get-go, from the foundation of organization, said we need to make sure that we kind of ground our understanding and skill set based on either research or industry standards. So what I have done, I have educated, it's now in thousands of partners in different ecosystems, how to do business modeling, how to build products, how to create GTM plans. So that's something that we feel, Mikko and I feel it's important that when you bring us in, our stuff is really built on industry standards. So you can take that in, you can consume that, and you can utilize that in your own operations going forward. So kind of leaving, besides the product or the plan, we will leave you with some learnings and frameworks that you can utilize in your operations. So I think that's a key thing from this slide. All right, let me move into the steps to business model innovation with AI and the key takeaways of this session today. What I want to bring to you is tying this framework that I found. It's pretty new. It's called Value Creation and Value Capture for AI Business Model Innovation, 3-phase process framework. Like I mentioned before, I think it's important to base your operations into frameworks that you can utilize and repeat based on every single time that you want to do innovation. And it doesn't really have to be AI, it could be something else as well. This framework is specifically tied to AI. And the first step is you have to identify the prerequisites of AI value creation. And the assumed outcome of this is that you have validated that there's an opportunity itself. The first step that you do, you have to understand the technical aspects of AI. You have to assess your internal AI maturity, and that's where we can ACX and in fact, ACX can help to evaluate. That's part of our service offerings to make sure that that you understand what you have and what you don't have. You also have to understand the infrastructure needs. I mean, Mikko did a fantastic workshop, webinar on different models, how you can train models. and the different cost factors when you do the training. Each one of those models will also require different infrastructure requirements. So when you do your plan, there's this infrastructure side of things that you have to understand as well. You are not going to be building a better OpenAI LLM. I mean, if you have a few $1 million, you can do that, but that's not what I think you should be doing. You also have to understand the industry and customer readiness. I remember the times when I started doing the transformation from on-premise environments into cloud environments. There were some verticals like oil and gas, banking, pharmaceutical. They said, "Oh, Petri, that's never going to happen." Guess what are the most aggressive ones in those environments? Exactly, banking. It's oil and gas. And how do I know that? Because I've run numerous workshops for those organizations around the world. So it's happening. So, and you have to really assess the readiness. And that readiness also, it's not just readiness by the organization, but readiness from the C-suite that they're ready to move to the next level. Because there isn't such a thing as AI strategy. There's a thing called business strategy, and you use AI to execute that strategy. And I think this is important to understand. And even Gartner says that the same thing. Then what you have to do is you have to conceptualize the opportunity. So having an understanding of your maturity, having an understanding of infrastructure, having an understanding of your industry, then you say, okay, what is the value that we can create with this foundation? And what typically, and this is probably nothing new to people that are in the business, so it's either being more cost efficient, it's having higher revenue, or having some business gains of having and applying the AI. One shouldn't do AI just for the sake of AI. It has to have an impact. So it could be, cost efficiency through better decision making by handling large and complex amounts of data, or it could be better decisions, by using the data to reduce costs. So really looking at the business impact. So that's really the impact should be, or the outcome should, we have validated that there's a value creation opportunity. Now, what's the next phase? The next phase is really building the bridge between the value creation and value capture dimensions. So the knowledge that you have gained in the first phase, the second phase is more, this is really customer orientated. So we're moving from internal things into customers. So we're going to ask ourselves the question, how and where will the value be created? We are really tying that into customer needs, and that's where ACX uses value proposition canvas framework. That's how we kind of identify tying the assumed value creation into the real true needs, the customer jobs, pains, and gains. We also create the activities here is developing those AI capabilities. And of course, if you don't have them, then you either hire those people or you use external resourcing. You create the value delivery mechanisms, routines. So how are you going to bring this solution to the customer? And part of this is also, if you, for example, let's say that you are doing, for example, something, retraining a model. So you're going to use data into that. So there needs to be some continuous improvement of that data sources. So you really have to be very closely working with the client. So the client understands that there's a perceived value of that work. So it's very tight collaboration. And some organizations, which is, it's a little bit scary, but there are some organizations that have now started doing outcome-based business models where I get paid when I'm able to demonstrate the value of it. I just met a couple of weeks ago a business owner that has that model, and he's making a lot of money just being able to demonstrate that the value that my solution brings is bringing such and such cost savings or additional revenue. So there needs to be a very close relationship between the customer and the vendor. And then risks. Risks, like with anything, specifically if you are doing a outcome-based costing model or revenue recognition model, then you have to have also assume that there might be some risks. If you have a pricing model using your cloud environment and suddenly the client utilizes too much, then you might be losing money. So if it's not based on consumption, so a lot of things that you have to consider. So the outcome should be a verified AI value capture ability. And then the final, phase 3. Phase 3 is really where when you look at we create the value flow structure, and really analyze how is the value distributed between the actors in the value creation network. And Mikko and I, we were in this conference these 2 days. So people talk about the ecosystem. So how is the value, if we have multiple players, how is the value going to be distributed among the actors? How is the value allocated between the provider and the customer? And it's all, again, tied to the cost efficiency, revenue increases, and potential business case. And then finally, developing the contractual agreements and testing revenue models. Because this is so new, so my assumption is that there's going to be interesting discussions about the contracts themselves, because providers need to really have access to the data. And for example, for outcome-based solutions, access to data, they're going to be able to demonstrate the value that they brought to the customer. So that's an area that needs to be in place. And then, of course, eventually you want to make money. So the compensation, the pricing models are going to be the key. And that's what we also do here at ACX and TELUS. And the outcome of all this should be that you have a commercially ready AI business model offer. So kind of conclude this I just wanted to walk you through what are the things and organizations that will see a change. We also walked through the business model canvas and the aspects of that. What are the things that you should be doing? And then finally, when you start working and executing your AI strategy, the framework that I just showed here is hopefully helping you to make sure that you are not ignoring any one of those steps. So Mikko, I'm turning it back to you.
Thank you, Petri. So listening to you during this presentation, I think we could summarize that while our ambition is to make AI approachable, we're not taking any shortcuts. So the amount of research you did, how you studied these topics to be able to summarize everything and really demonstrate how the business modeling changes like on every aspect with the AI. I think that's one of the key takeaways for me. Second one, I really liked what you said, that like we shouldn't be focusing on the AI strategy, but strategy that is enhanced by AI. So it's very similar to our discussion about the products, that like don't build AI products, build great products that are enhanced by AI.
Exactly. Yeah.
Thanks, Petri. So for our audience, this was our ninth production of the Approachable AI. If you follow the link through our website or YouTube, you will find the previous webinars and live presentations. Also on our webpage, you will have other material like case studies and, for example, the AI assessment, which is the first starting point in the previous model that Petri showed. So we are here to help. Next concrete deliverables on this help. There will be a live event here in Dallas towards the end of November in collaboration with European American Chamber of Commerce and Finnish American Business Guild. We will also be present at the CES, so if anybody is coming there, happy to meet you there. And I think, Petri, I liked your idea about making like end of year webinar about like what has changed during the past year, because this has really been the year of generative AI and how it became like a public reached public knowledge.
Yeah, kind of almost like a recap of the key points, the things that people need to keep in mind when making and working on their strategy.
Yeah, sounds good. So we're happy to help you if you have envision strategy needs, design needs, development needs, anything in the AI, or you just want to share your opinions, have a chat. Don't be shy. Please reach out to us. So thank you very much, everybody, for joining us, and have a great day.
Thank you for your time. Bye-bye.